Hello guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today's class it's a requested video. We'll be learning how to make this reversible beautiful pinafore jacket. If this sounds interesting and something you would love to watch, please keep on watching till the end. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Continue to like, share and subscribe. Let's go in. So for today's jacket, I'll be working with two different fabric, this plain one and this Ankara. Our scissors, I have my sewing scissors and my cutting scissors, my pencil for drafting, my French curve and my paper. So the first thing I'm going to do now is to draft on our paper. So for our drafting, we need our bust measurement, our waist measurement, our half length and our shoulder. That is all we need for our drafting. So I went ahead to take my half length measurement. My half length measurement is 18. I went ahead to take it across the paper. I took it across the paper and then I connected all my lines together. So when taking your measurement, you could always tell somebody to help you take your measurement to enable you have an accurate measurement. Or you could also do the measurement yourself. Yes, you can always do your measurement yourself. So I went ahead to clean the excess line I had. Then I already have my half length. So going further, I went ahead to take my shoulder measurement. My shoulder is 17 divided by 2. I have 8.5. I came down by 1 inch as my shoulder slope. After coming down with 1 inch for my shoulder slope, I went ahead to take my neck width and neck depth. I used 3.5 inch on both ends for my depth and for my width. I went ahead to connect them with my curve. Okay, so please try to connect it smoothly. I went also to connect my shoulder slope. So after this part, the next thing I went ahead to do is to get my armhole depth. My armhole depth, I went down by 8 inch. So after taking my shoulder depth, I went ahead to take my bust measurement. My bust is 40 divided by 4. I got 10. I took my 10. I marked it. Then I went ahead to get my waist measurement. My waist measurement is 8.75 divided when I've already divided it by 4. My waist is 35. Okay, so I went ahead to connect my lines together. In this point, you don't need your dart allowance. You don't need a sewing allowance. So I connected my bust line and my waist line together, and I used my free hand to connect my shoulder slope. So currently here, you don't need anything. I went ahead to cut my pattern. We've been able to draft out our pattern. Remember, we didn't add any sewing allowance or we didn't add any dart allowance. All we need is our accurate bust measurement and our waist measurement. Okay, then we take out our neck width and our neck depth. We go over to our shoulder slope and we take our armhole. So we should be having something like this when you're done with your pattern. When we are done with our shape, we've been able to get our pattern and draft it. Now we need to get our pinafore shape. You know, we have a slightly slanted shape in our pinafore. So for us to get that, we are going to be dividing our waist by 8. Yes, we'll be dividing our waist by 8. Our waist here is 35. We'll divide it by 8. If your waist is 40, any amount your waist is, you're going to divide it by 8 to be able to get that slant, that small part of the pinafore. So after dividing my own waist, I got 4.375. So I went ahead to approximate it to give me a total of 4.5. So I took my own from here. Please, you're taking it from your center front, not from your side. You're taking your measurement from your center front to wherever your measurement stops. So I took my 4.5 from my center front and I marked it. Then I'm going to go over to my shoulder. So on our shoulder, we are going to come in by 2 inch on our shoulder. We are taking it from our shoulder slope, not our neckline. So I went ahead to take in our 2 inch. So we've already gone ahead to divide our waist by 8 and we've marked whatever we got there. And on our shoulder, we came in by 2 inch. Okay, so now what we are going to do, we are going to be connecting our shoulder line to our waistline, the line we got. We are going to be joining them together. Please know that your shoulder, the 2 inch you went in from your shoulder, is not constant. You could always come in by 1 inch, you could always come in by 1.5, but here I decided to go in by 2 inch. Is not constant. Okay, you could either come in by 1 inch or 1.5, but I decided to go in by 2 inch. So after connecting it, now you can cut your pattern. The part we are cutting off, we don't need it, so that is why when drafting our pattern, we don't need that allowance, we don't need a sewing allowance, we don't need any sort of allowance. So now we are done cutting it, this is only what we need for our jacket. We are going to go ahead and cut it on our fabric. Whatever we cut on this fabric, we are going to cut it on the other fabric. So we are cutting the same thing on each fabric. So let's go cut. Remember, when we are cutting our pattern, we put 1/2 inch round the side for our sewing allowance. So we'll go ahead and cut our pattern. We'll be using the front pattern to cut out the back first. Okay, know when you're cutting your back, you're going to come up with the neck, because the back neck is shorter and the front neck is deeper, so you will not be cutting the back neck the same. I will be putting 1/2 inch round. Let's go in. So we've been able to cut the back, so we'll go ahead to cut the front. When cutting the front, we are going to put 1/2 inch round the side for sewing allowance. And the front, since the middle is going to be open, I left some space in front to be able to have some sewing allowance there. So we've been able to cut our front and our back. So whatever we have here, we're going to cut it on our other fabric, and we'll go ahead and cut our peplum. So we've been able to cut our peplum, we've been able to cut everything we need, both the belt, okay, this is the Ankara fabric, and this is also the plain fabric. We replicated everything we did on both fabric. Okay, so I went ahead to cut out the peplum. In this tutorial, we are using the 720 degree peplum. We'll be having that class in our next class, how to cut a peplum, please. I also went ahead to cut our belt. I did a mistake while cutting the belt. I cut it 6 inches width, but later on I had to divide it into 2 to give me 3 inches width, but the length I used my hip times 2. Okay, so if you're cutting it, please don't cut yours with 6 inches width. You're going to cut each fabric 3 inches with your desired length. So I went ahead with my peplum. You know, we are doing a 720 degree peplum. I went ahead to cut open a side of the peplum. Okay, you know, we have 2 circles. I went ahead to cut out each side to where we are going to join our peplum to give us 1. So I did the same thing on the other fabric. Know that this is a reversible jacket, so whatever you do on one fabric, you're definitely going to do it on the other fabric. I'm going to go ahead to sew the jacket. I'm going to place the right side facing right side. This is the upper part of my jacket, so I'm going to place my shoulders together, the right side of the front and the right side of the back. Okay, I'll go to my machine and sew my shoulder with 1/2 inch, please, and whatever I do here, I'll do it here, and we'll come back and show you. So we've been able to join our shoulders together. As you can see, you could see we've joined our shoulders together. Whatever I did here, I also did it on the other one, because it's a reversible jacket, so you are going to be doing the same thing. So the next thing is for us to give our jacket a good press. How are we going to do that? We are going to be opening up the seams. Yes, you're going to be opening up the seams on all parts of the clothes. Now we only have the shoulder. After doing that, we will now place our jacket on the right side. So we're going to arrange our fabric right side on right side very well. We are going to make sure that all the joinings are rightfully placed. We are going to pin the shoulder together so it will align. We'll make sure that both shoulders line are properly aligned. Okay, we'll also do that to the next shoulder. You open your seam and you pin it, making your shoulders to align. So the next thing we are going to do is to make sure that we give our cloth a good press. Then we'll go to our sewing machine and sew. How are we going to sew? We are going to be sewing from the neck. Okay, you could see we are going to be taking the neck round the neck. After we are done sewing, the only place that should be open are this last end and this place. Please, we are going to be taking our thread all the way here. We are going to also take it all the way here to our neck. We'll come down straight down. That place is going to be open, and we'll also take it down here. So when we are done, we should be having only these 3 edges open to be able to turn it. So let's go in and sew. We've been able to sew our clothes. We've gone ahead to sew all the side. You could see that we've been able to sew it. So the only side that is open is this side, this part, and this other part. So you are only sewing the sides, the neck, and the front. So what we'll go ahead and do is to notch our neck to have a balanced structure when we turn it. So we've been able to notch it. We are going to be turning it. I'm turning it from the bigger side because if you turn it from the smaller side, it's going to be difficult. We've been able to sew down the upper part of our jacket. You could see the 2 sides. It's already looking beautiful already, and we still have our opening. You could see the plain side. You could see the Ankara side. So what is left for us to do now is to go to our ironing board and give it a very beautiful ironing so that all our edges will come out. And when you're ironing, you need all your edges, all your parts, all your sides to come out so that it will look beautiful. So we're going to keep that aside and we're going to go to our peplum. I'm going to put up a video on how to cut your peplum, your 360, 720 and 144. So for this video we're using a 720. I'm gonna head to join my peplum at the center. So we have 2 peplum on for the different fabric. So the next thing I'm going to do is to go and sew it all around, but sewing it all around, I'm going to pin it, and I'll be using my hemming gum to do that. Yes, a hemming gum. Your hemming gum is going to allow you to have a beautiful structure at the end. I'm going to be putting it round as I'm going to be pinning it. You may be wondering why we are not using crinoline. Some people call it horsehair. When you're using a crinoline or a horsehair, as you may call it, when you turn it to the other side, it's going to be showing and you'll not be getting that reversible jacket effect you want. So that's why we are going to be using a we are going to be using a hemming gum. I'm going to go ahead and pin it round. As I'm pinning it round, I'm going to be putting my hemming gum at the edge. I'll make sure that my fabric I'm starting from both the midpoint of your peplum. That's where you joined 2 different peplum together to give you 1 peplum. So I went ahead to pin it, and as I'm pinning it, I'm also taking my hemming gum alongside, and I'm making sure that my fabric are well placed. One is not up, one is not down. They are well arranged, and I'm going to do that round the peplum, around your peplum. Yes, so I've gone ahead to pin it around so you could see how I did it. My hemming gum, it's round the peplum. So after doing this, the next thing is for us to go and sew our peplum. But before sewing it, we are going to shape the edge of our peplum. And how are we going to do that? We are going to bring the 2 opening mouth of the peplum and shape it. Remember at the picture we saw a shape that is slanted, okay, it's curvy. So we are going to do that here before sewing it. So here you don't have any particular structure or particular design or particular way to cut it. All you need to do is put your hand and cut it to your desired preferred way of how you want the front of your peplum to look or like. So all I did is I just went ahead with my scissors and I just slashed it out to the part I love. You could still go ahead, if you still like it, you could leave it like that. If you want it to be more curvy, you could still go ahead and cut it in. Me, I went ahead and still trimmed my own because I still want that curvy part to be very, very visible. So I still went ahead to cut it. You could still look, if you still like it, you could leave it. If you don't like it, you could still go ahead and cut. So here I've been able to cut my own to my desired design. So I'll go ahead and put my hemming gum at those edge and go to the machine and sew. We've been able to finish in our peplum. You could see how beautiful it is. Now you could see the effect of the hemming gum. You see how beautiful the edge of your peplum is, the mouth of your peplum is. That is where the hemming gum comes in play. This is the reason why you use hemming gum to do that. And in this, you don't top stitch, please. So we've been able to go ahead and iron our upper part of our jacket. You can see how beautiful it's looking already. So this is one part. We've done our peplum, we've ironed it, it's looking all pretty and nice. Our jacket is already getting ready. You could see how beautiful it's looking. And also our belt. Remember initially I told you that we did a mistake while cutting the belt, that we did 6 inches. So I went ahead to cut only 3 inches width for the belt, but the length is as desired. Here I used my hip times 2. You could use as long as you want, as desired, as how you want it. So that is what I did for the belt. I only used 3 inches and the length was my hip times 2. So this is our peplum. So what we are going to be doing now for this upper part, we are going to be removing some inches from the length. Know that because we are putting a band, so we need to remove 2 inches from our upper part. You could go ahead and remove 3, but standard it's 2. It should not exceed 2.5 or 3 inches. So I went ahead to mark my 2 inches on my clothes. So please, when you're marking your 2 inches, kindly make sure that your jacket is well placed, because you don't want to have it that where after cutting one is longer than one or one is shorter. It's not nicely placed. That's starting where you spoiled your clothes. After cutting out our 2 inches, we don't need it, so this is only what we need for our upper side. So the next thing we are going to do, we are going to set this aside and we'll go over to our peplum. So the next thing we are going to do is to join our band to our peplum. Remember, we have a joining in the middle. It's going to serve as our center part of our peplum. We are going to go ahead and notch the center of our belt. We're going to find the middle of our belt and notch it. We're going to do that on each fabric. Remember, whatever we do on one side, we do it on the other side. So after notching it, that notched place, we are going to place it on the center of our peplum. The same thing we are going to do on the other plain material. When cutting your belt, please kindly make sure that your belts are of the same length. One fabric length is no longer than the other fabric. So I went ahead to notch the center of this other fabric and I went to place it on the peplum. When placing your fabric on your peplum, please be careful not to interchange it. Okay, be careful not to interchange, not to put this other fabric on the other side and take this other one and put on the other side, then you spoil your clothes. So now I have to place the center. I notched to the center of my fabric. So I went ahead to arrange all my edges very well, my belt, my peplum, to have all the edges together, and I'm going to use a pin to secure it. Yes, I'm going to use a pin and secure everything the same way all the way down. I'm going to do it on each side. And when you're arranging your belts and your peplum, try to make sure that your peplum, your belts are all together. You will not want to sew and find out that one edge did not sew, one edge is sticking out. So I'll go ahead and do that all around my peplum to put it in place. So I've been able to pin my peplum and my belt all the way down. You could see how my belt is looking. It's already looking so beautiful. So I went ahead to pin it all the way down. I'm going to sew it all the way down, and I'll also sew this edge. Okay, and I'm going to also do the same thing on the other side all the way down, and I'm still going to sew the edge. So let's take it to the machine. And so after sewing it, we're going to come back and show you what it looks like. So we've been able to sew our peplum and our belt, so you could see how beautiful it's looking. You could see this our Ankara side, it's looking all beautiful, it's looking all nice. What we have to do is to go and iron. You could see the other side, it's already all looking beautiful and nice. So what we have to do now is to go to our ironing board and iron it. We are going to iron it, give it a good press. When ironing, ensure that you give your peplum a very good press. You're going to press it all the way down to the belt, and when you're done ironing, you're going to have to fold in 1/2 inch on both fabric, 1/2 inch on your Ankara, 1/2 inch on your plain side. If you're using a plain side, even though you're not using a plain side, make sure that you fold both sides in all the way down. So we'll go and do that, and we'll show you what it looks like. We are done ironing. As you could see, our peplum is already looking so beautiful. So you could see the 1/2 inch with hooking on both fabric. You could see how we did it, and we had to iron it all the way down to our belt area. So this is how it all looks like after ironing our peplum. You could see how both sides are looking. Remember, whatever I do on this side, I also do on this side. I remember I told you when doing your reversible jacket, you don't top stitch, because when you top stitch, you see it on the other side. That is why it's advisable for us to use a hemming gum to give us this effect we are seeing on our peplum now. After doing this, it's time for us to join our upper part to our peplum. Now we are going to first of all notch the center part of our peplum. I just went ahead to notch it a tiny bit to know the center of our upper part. So now we're going to be joining the upper part to the down part. This is where all the ingredient is coming alive to bring out that beautiful thing you've been making all those while. So remember that we have a center part for our peplum. Then I'm going to be placing the center part of our upper side to the center part of our peplum. Please, when you're doing it, be careful enough not to interchange it. You will not want to put the other side on the other part and just change it entirely. So you need to be very careful when doing this. So I had to lie it down on the table and place it like this. With this like this, you're going to know that okay, both sides are on the right side. So I went ahead to put the jacket inside the belt. You could see, please don't put your belt, rather don't put your upper part inside to go down. All you need to do is just that 1/2 inch that you folded inside the belt, you just have to put it, it should stop at that same line, then you place it, you cover it with the other one, and you know that okay, this color is on this side, the other color is on the other side. You did not do any mistake. I went ahead to pin my belt. Okay, by doing this I'm securing it so that it would not move. I've been able to go ahead to secure the upper part and the down part together. Now you could see that both sides are right. The plain side is facing the plain side of the peplum, and this is facing this side. So what I'm going to do now is to take the front part of my upper part and put it also into the belt. Please kindly note that when you are putting it inside the belt, okay, the edge should also be at the edge of the peplum. You won't want your upper part to be forward and the peplum is at the back. They all need to align at the same part. They all need to be aligned. So after I've been able to align it, okay, I'm going to also put it into, that's why you need to fold your 1/2 inch inside all the way around. So I'm going to go ahead and secure it with a pin. See, I'm going to go ahead and do the other part the same way I did the previous one. We've been able to secure our peplum jacket. We've been able to join the piece together. You could see how it's looking beautiful already. So all we have to do is to go to our machine and sew on top the jacket. We are sewing on top straight. We're going to be having a straight line round this to the belt side, and we'll do it on the other side. We've been able to sew our peplum. We've gone ahead to sew it all round. Our peplum is looking all beautiful, so you could see that this is already lovely. You could pair it with your two-piece black, you could pair it with a gown, whatever you feel comfortable in. You could, it's a casual wear, a Friday wear, whatever you want to, you can do it with it. So please, I'm waiting for you in the comment section. If you watch up till this part, please, I want to see your comments. Don't forget to like, please subscribe, share, and give us a thumbs up. I'm rooting for you all. I'm waiting for your practicals, please.